You're listening to the Punisher Waterfowl's The Union 0430 podcast, brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality, built to hunt. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 140. As you can see, I got that handsome man Philly with us, who's been busy, and we haven't had him on the show for the last couple weeks. Actually, we've missed 2 weeks because I screwed up Central Time and Eastern Time, and we were supposed to have a gentleman from Kansas come on, so we lost him. And then I was in Florida last week, and Dave didn't get a show done. So we've been 2 weeks without a show, but this week we're coming in strong because we've got the man, Mr. Heath Hancock, coming to us from Apex Ammunition from the great state of Kentucky. I think you're the first person from Kentucky we've had on the show, eh, Philly?
Yes. What an honor.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like, we would like to think of ourselves as connoisseurs of drinking. And Phil is a fan of bourbon. I'm just starting to get into bourbon. So, you know, it's kind of special to have you on right now.
We're just a bunch of piss tanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's certainly interesting because Kentucky's notorious for bourbon, apparently. And everyone in conversation expect me to be an expert in it. You know what I mean? Like, I dabble.
Well, in fairness, you're from Kentucky.
Yeah. And so it's assumed that I ought to be an expert, and I hope not to let anyone down. But I just know a few things about bourbon, not a lot.
So, do you know Jeff Coates from Pit Boss Waterfowl?
Yeah, the Pit Boss, of course.
Yeah, so we were hunting with him a couple years ago in PEI in Prince Edward Island here in Canada, and I had not. So I've drank Wild Turkey and Jim Beam and that stuff, right? But I've never drank like good bourbon. And Jeff Coates goes out and buys a bottle of Buffalo Trace, and he said, "This is some good. And then he gives us a lesson on, in order to be considered a true Kentucky bourbon, there's certain things that it has to hit. Like, people slap a bourbon sticker on anything, but in order to be a true Kentucky bourbon, it has to hit a few things, right? So
there's parameters.
There are parameters.
Jeff, he knows his way around some whiskeys and some bourbon. I remember that about him. I don't know if he drinks anymore, but man, he used to be a big fan of Crown.
Oh yeah, still is. Crown Black.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if he was still on that wagon or if he had evolved to a better beverage.
Well,
but
there was a time there not very long ago that he was on Weller. He was drinking Weller, and that's a bourbon too, I believe.
That's right. Yep. It's a good
so
one.
he was doing So that I think Weller is his choice, and then Buffalo Trace is his wife's choice. So yeah, but hey, worse things we could be talking about than talking about bourbon. But Heath, buddy, you know, we've been back and forth for quite some time trying to make this work and get some time where you can clear some time in your schedule, because man, you guys are busy. Apex Ammunition is busy. It is growing, and it is growing fast, man.
Yeah, indeed, man. It is exciting to see. We're hopping. It's turkey season for us. So, man, if you call the shop and someone had dropped a phone call or something, they're like, "Man, it's turkey season. You know, I apologize." You know, and that's our go-to response right now, and everyone seems to understand. Thankfully for our betterment, but it's turkey season, man, and so we have a cult following in the turkey hunting ammunition world. I hate to use that as a term, but man, we have a vast customer base that love our turkey ammunition, and turkey hunters, similar to duck hunters, have a passion for what they do, and they are very passionate about Apex ammunition and the ammo, TSS ammo. So, man, it's just great to be a part of it and to see it all go down and unfold. Apex is relatively a new company, man. I mean, it's only been around for since 2017. And to see the ground that we've been fortunate enough to cover in just a seemingly short amount of time is just really cool to be a part of that, and to see the reach that we've already established in this industry.
Well, I had sorry, I got to sneeze. Anyways, so I had a list. I had it like sort of kind of played out how I was going to ask all these questions and stuff. I had like an itinerary. But now that you brought up the turkey season, dude, I watched a video today of the kid Apex and Mossy Oak put together. And dude, after look, I'm getting goosebumps on my arms right now thinking about that video, because that video is exactly that was my life. I like my dad, like he took me out and stuff, but my dad didn't take me hunting. My dad was too busy. He worked in the mines. He was a welder. And the last thing he was going to do was every waking moment he had was take some snot-nosed kids with him every chance. You know what I mean? Like he was a busy man. And so I watched that video, and you know, I related to it so much, but then this kid, and I'm just watching them, and there is no acting. There is no trying to get this kid to show some emotion when it comes to turkey hunting. Like that was just raw emotion for that kid.
Oh yeah. Man, I was fortunate to meet that kid at NWTF, and
Yep.
Man, he's a genuine kid. Like there's no acting, and that's the purity in that, man. Is like in this industry, you got a lot of guys that have the clout because they're callers, or there's just a whole lot of ego and all that. But man, in a kid, and to see them coming to the stage like that, and competing and winning, man, it comes from a pure, raw, emotional, grit. It's just like this kid is in it for the right reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
buddy.
he come by, and just his enthusiasm for turkeys and turkey hunting and turkey calling. It's a reminder of where we all started. You know what I mean? And
yeah, man.
It's just, man, to pull on your heartstrings a little bit. That video, if you haven't seen it, watch it, because it will absolutely make you feel a certain type of way. And that's coming. It's a big thing for me to say that, being a man, I suppose.
Yeah.
But emotionally, man, like it's those things that get us all, and we can all relate to, because in our hearts we love this sport. We can relate to that, and it's personalities and all the aforementioned things that I said before that kind of gets us out of that mindset. Being in this industry, it's a good reminder for us to just keep it real and keep it simple. You know what I mean? And to go back and always love it for what we did as a kid. And as a father, it makes me want to make sure that I keep it pure for my kids as well. And so it's, to your point, man, it's a great reminder. It's a great video. Jared Lewis has a great talent in pulling those emotions out in his videos, and the way he puts things together in his edits and everything. Of course, you got to have the content to put it together, but man, he can do that. And whenever he does it, it's like an art. It's a piece of art. And
well, there was one part there, and I don't know if it's, to a lot of the audience, if you don't have kids, or the type of person that you are, and I'm not bashing on anybody or anything like that, but And Phil, I know you are the exact same way as what I am when it comes to affection towards your kids, because I've seen you with your kids and the affection that you show them. So, my kids are 17 and 13, and I kiss them all the time, all the time. And there's one part in that video where you see the dad kiss his son, and it was not a staged kiss. It was just, I love you and I'm so proud of you, and I've just watched it, and it was just those subtle little things as I'm watching it. I'm like, and this kid's dad's like, uh for the for one part of the competition at the NWTF, his kid, 12 years old, I believe, had to compete with the adults, and he ended up
Right.
beating his dad in the
Yeah.
contest, which was
Oh, yeah.
amazing. And his dad's just got this grin from ear to ear. He loves it. He loves the fact that his kid beat him.
Yeah. That bond and that camaraderie, I can only imagine, it's kind of fuels that fire for them continuously. You know what I mean? And for him, I've actually heard his dad tell that story, and he did it in a humble way. You know what I mean? Just like, man, it was so cool to see him and the drive that he has at 12 years old to come out here and perform with these adults and win. You know what I mean? The very guy that taught him how to do it, he beat him. You know what I mean? And it's a super humbling thing, coming from a father standpoint. Like my daughter, not to make this about me, but
No, absolutely.
just to see how all right, so youth season wrapped up here 2 weekends ago, and I had taken my daughter hunting, turkey hunting. It's not the first time she's been with me, but it's been the most successful time we've been out. And my daughter killed her first longbeard on that hunt, and she saw me hooting and hollering, right? Like she later told me, she's like, "Dad, I never seen you get that excited before." and it was, and she said something. She said, "I never seen you get that excited about something that I done before." You know what I mean? And I'm like, ah, man, I get excited about everything that you do. I'm super proud of you. But I was like, what you saw there was me getting excited about you doing something and achieving something in the realm that I like to operate.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, to see you do what I do and be successful at it, that's why I'm excited. You know what I mean? It's just because it was a win for me. And to your point about this child and his dad in the competition, it's kind of similar. Like, that's what they set out to do. And he realized, like, all of his efforts, all of his, coaching, everything that he put into his kid come out, and he was a beast. You know what I mean? Like, man, this is awesome. And so now his boy has got that passion, probably much stronger than the passion that his father has at this point in his life. It's just like his drive is like, where can I go from here, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And so, like, that was, similarly with my daughter, is like the world is yours. Like, you get to experience this. You got to experience it. That's why I love this. You know what I mean? Like, your feeling right there is exactly like why I do what I do. And now you got a glimpse in it. I'm just excited to see where the possibilities go from here. You know what I mean? And like, I imagine that kid's father being the exact same way. Like, he knows that the world is his oyster, and he's done his job in pointing him in that right direction. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, man, all that to say, that video is good. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Yeah. It's
Where,
a nice.
Where is that?
So I found it just popped up on my Facebook feed today. So, like, if you're following Apex, it just popped up on my Facebook feed today. You got to check it out, Phil, because it's really well
100%.
done. And I wish I would have remembered the quote that is said at it's something along the quote at the end of the video, something along the lines of, the things a good man does will long outlast him once he's gone. And
Yeah.
it was something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, but just a strong quote. But the thing that I liked about it, and I think this is something that really drew me to it, and I seen that video today, and then you're coming on tonight, Heath, and then I was just like, I watched the beginning of the video, and it started out with two gentlemen saying that their dads didn't get a chance to take them out and introduce them to hunting. They took them out, and they were outdoorsmen, but they were busy men and working and all that stuff with a family. So but it grew. It was that little seed that was planted, and it grew and it grew, and now you've seen the little kid. And then Apex goes over after watching them at NWTF and said, listen, man, we got to do something for this kid. This kid's 12 years old.
That's right.
The sky's the limit for him. Same for your daughter at a young age to get bitten by the bug. The sky's the limit. There's nothing holding you back right now, only you. And then I look at a company like Apex and without knowing, so first off, I guess knowing that it's a veteran-owned business, I'm gonna say that I think it's safe to assume that that's one of the core principles of the company is getting that it doesn't have to be a kid. It could be a 40-year-old guy or a 40-year-old single mom. It doesn't matter, but it's that first-time hunter. That has to be a core value of Apex, and that's just me. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Heath, but it just seemed like that was something that was coming out of that video.
Yes. Your observations are spot on, man. We are a veteran-owned company, so man, we are passionate about the freedoms and the liberties that we have in this space. You know what I mean? And we realize that it's up to us to make sure that the future of this sport, it's our duty to make sure that our kids and anyone else that wants to have this opportunity continues to have that in the future. Every one of us are super patriotic in that. I guess that is a patriotic trait to want to.
Yeah, of course.
Traditions, you know what I mean? Like to hold these traditions, and so we have high regard to the people that came before us, right? That kind of paved the way for us. But the old Bible verse, to whom much is given, much is required, right? We realize that that it's our duty to make sure that this goes on beyond us. You know what I mean? And and so like instilling into children or to the next person the lessons that we've been taught. The gentlemen that you guys that you mentioned in that video at the beginning are notorious in this industry. Both of them have giant reputations in the turkey hunting world. You know what I mean? And to hear them say that they came to this sport without that guidance from their father and all that helps to encourage people that have the same,
good point.
The same upbringing, that they too can get involved, and you just have to seek out someone, because I don't know any hunter that wouldn't be willing to share their knowledge base with anybody else that's interested in learning.
Absolutely.
Everyone I've met anyway, we all know and we all understand that it is our duty, man, to make sure that the next generation and anyone that comes after us or alongside us has the exact same opportunities that we experience right now, that we grew up having. And it's all right, man. It is all right.
Absolutely.
So,
I want to get this little piece in, because I think, and Phil can add in on this because I know he feels the same way. But one of the main ideas when we started this show, and one of the reasons, or I guess one of our core values when it come to starting this show on what we wanted to achieve here, was that to go along with what you're saying, to show that you don't have to have your dad or your grandfather, like, just seek someone out, because there are people that's out there that's willing to take you under their wing. But one of
That's
the
right.
big things that we try to do on this show is try to teach some manners when it comes to this too, right? Because we see it all too often, Heath. I don't know what it's like in Kentucky, but up here, for a group of people that claim that we're a brother and a sisterhood, we're pretty quick to jump on one another as soon as there's a mistake, or soon as there's what some people deem a dumb question. And people just jump on them for absolutely, especially kids. We're seeing it all the time with kids, where kids are just brave enough to actually ask a question on social media, and then a bunch of dudes just come in and swarm on them. But I know Phil keeps a pretty good eye on most of the social media channels, and is pretty quick to tell these bullies to, like, grow the fuck up, like you're picking on a kid.
Coaching over criticism will get you a lot further.
Yeah, coaching over
and,
criticism. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I just made that up.
On the
yeah,
fly. Love it.
like the world needs more mentors more than anything. And honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't cost you anything just to be a decent, civil human being.
Yeah, fair.
It costs you nothing. Like in a world of so much hate and all this other nonsense and so forth, it costs you nothing just to be nice. Help someone. Again, costs you nothing. Like the saying goes, right? What goes around comes around.
100%. You project good out into the world, buddy. It's only good things, and we say it all the time. Surround yourself with good people, right? And that's something my old man taught me right from a very young age. Is if you surround yourself with garbage, you're going to be garbage. Surround yourself with good people, and nothing but good things will happen for you. I wanted to get into, Heath, because you touched on it with, the company's been around since 2017, and without sounding like an asshole, Heath, like, there's some big names out there in the ammunition world, and people may not be familiar with Apex. I know who Apex is, and most of my friends know who Apex is, but we're in Canada and we haven't seen it yet. But I'm gonna be digging at that in a little bit. But tell us about Apex. Tell us about, first, why it was started, and why I guess Apex thought that there was a need for another ammo company to get out there.
All right. So because I'm not one of the founders, I will be regurgitating the story, right? As I've heard it numerous times, and I hope to do it justice the way that it's meant to be. But it started out with these guys. So Jared, Jason, and Nick Charney, their wives and they were active duty. Everyone's active duty except for Jason Lonsberry. And Jason Lonsberry, Jared, and Nick, all three of their wives are the reason why they became friends, because they were pilots in the Air Force.
Okay.
Jared Lewis was Army, National Guard, and Nick Charney was Air Force, is Air Force also. And so they met because of their wives, and they decided to go hunting one day. And at the time, Nick Charney was he had been utilizing TSS and hand loads. TSS is not new. It's been around with reloaders for some time. And so Nick Charney was playing around with different TSS loads, and they all got together to go on this duck hunt. I believe it was Kansas that they were doing this hunt in. And if you ever meet Jared, man, he tells his story way better and verbatim as it happened. But they were sitting around the table after the hunt, and they had shot TSS, some hand loads that Nick Charney had made, and they were just rocking ducks, you know, I mean, just absolutely crushing them. And they were talking about why wasn't it not on the market as being a mass produced, you know, alternative to lead. You know, it's non-toxic. Everybody's getting, you know, alternatives to get back to the performance of lead, but TSS outperforms the performance of lead all day, you know, anytime. So they were like, well, why isn't this a viable option? And so, in short, they decided to form a company selling TSS.
Yeah.
And it was they decided to bring a turkey load to the market. You know what I mean? And then their first year they sold out. Of course, they produced all that they could afford to buy. TSS is not cheap.
Yeah.
You know, the raw material, it's not cheap. So they were buying and building a little at a time, and everything that they could buy, they could turn around and sell with. And they were like, well, this is sustainable. You know, let's just keep buying more and building more and see where it goes. And next thing you know, they go to NWTF, and they thought, man, if we can sell out of this at NWTF, we've done something. And they sold out within just a couple of hours. You know what I mean?
Are you serious?
Like, yeah, it was just like, wow, we underestimated this. So
that's a good problem to have.
Every year since I think it was 2018. The company formed in 2017, and I can't remember if that was the first NWTF or if it was the following 2018 NWTF where this happened. But they started scaling up from there, and I came on board in 2019, and man, it's just been astronomical. The roots of this company is run deeper in this amount of time, allowing us to grow up taller. You know what I mean? And so, just my involvement and seeing how things, you know, we're all evolving and growing and trying to keep up and hoping that we're not outgrowing our own capacity, you know, and it's kind of ebbed and flowed, and it's kind of, man, it's super humbling, man, to see the response that we've had and the customer base that we've had, that we have acquired, and we really want to maintain that level with the same quality consistently. And so we're getting really good at doing what we do well, you know what I mean? And focusing on that. And then we've gotten into the waterfowling world now within the last, I guess this is our fourth season producing waterfowl loads. Yeah. And so that's kind of taken off and taken legs of its own. And we're not just a turkey company anymore. We're a turkey and waterfowl. And we also dabble with predator loads. I say dabble because it certainly hasn't shined as bright as the waterfowl and the turkey has. Yep. But there's still potential there for us. You know what I mean?
But you guys are like setting yourselves up too. Like you're doing the same thing, hanging out with good people. I seen a promotion there a couple weeks ago. I believe maybe it was longer, but between you guys and Tetra, where there's some small batch ammo, so some very, you know, small batch stuff that's partnered up with Tetra Hearing, which, like, it's cool. It's those little things, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you guys are content with, listen, we're not gonna spread ourselves so thin that the product suffers for the sake of bringing in more money or selling more product or whatever. You've got the game plan, and you're sticking to the game plan. You've got to roll with some punches, which is always the case, but you're sticking to the fact that, hey, listen, the product is what's the most important, and we're not going to deviate from that.
That's exactly our mindset. We have in this experience of exponential growth, we have we have been agile and adapting, because we're growing in the midst of a pandemic. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we've had a lot of things that would have surely taken us out, but it's because we've been so agile, man, and making decisions on the fly, and just seeking out alternative resources. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not ever skimping on quality. In fact, last year we missed the entire 20 gauge waterfowl load. We didn't build any 20 gauge because our wad wasn't what we thought it was going to. It wasn't right. We couldn't get it. It changed. Something changed on it, and so we scrapped the whole year of 20 gauge in waterfowl.
Soon as you brought up that sub gauge, I seen Phil's ears start to perk up. Because Phil,
Yeah.
so I'll let you go on for a little bit here now, Phil, because I know you're just chomping at the bit.
Well, I'm interested to hear said thing about 20 gauge and whatnot.
Yeah. So we've been able to adapt, and we've been able to, and I'm only speaking really from my department right now because it's been in my sites, but we've worked to get a quality wad, and we've got a solution now, and we're all happy with it. And you'll see a 20 gauge offering this year again in the waterfowl world. We're going to be producing those, and we're manufacturing them, and I'm excited, man, because we weren't willing to skimp on our quality to just put a product out. You know what I mean? Like we weren't willing to just say, oh well, we were willing to take a loss and say, well, if we can't get it right, we're not putting it out. And so that's kind of the mindset that we've had, and I appreciate the kind of mindset I appreciate. I love the company. I love knowing that it's not we want to get to the place where we're selling massive amounts of ammunition, high volumes. And, in some regards, we already are in some aspects, but man, we certainly will not do it and don't want to do it if the quality is not there.
Phil, you got
It's a solid
anything?
business model.
Well, yeah. Everybody says it though, right? You know what I mean? Like everybody says, well, our product and quality and customer service and stuff like that. But yet, but then when you have a problem, you call, well, we don't cover that, or everybody says it, but your actions speak louder than your words. And when you're purposely slowing down your own production to ensure that quality is met, that's the action that you want to see from somebody when they say that, right? Because actions speak louder than words. Listen, we've been going on, and it's time, because I've been chomping at the bit, and you haven't even told me, and I've been picking at you, and I've been asking you, and I'm asking you now. Are we going to see Apex in Canada in 2023?
You have been persistently asking, man, and the answer still remains the same. It's like we are working on it.
Okay.
And we do think we have. We do think we got a good path now. But it is a process, man. It has been none of us have said this. We heard this actually at SHOT Show, that it would be easier to get ammunition into Afghanistan than into Canada. You know what I mean? And,
I believe it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And
Just
so,
ask Bird Dog Whiskey.
And so we have experienced that it's not well, we're up for the challenge, but it's not been as easy as we had hoped, right?
Insane.
And so, but to answer your question, yes, you will see it, and I would definitely let you know as soon as that happens. But as of right now, I can't tell you when exactly the timeline of things dropping into Canada. But if you know someone here in the States, a lot of folks come up to Canada on waterfowl hunting trips.
Oh yeah.
There's a certain amount, per man, I guess, that could come
That's right.
in. But
10,000 rounds, actually.
I was going to say this earlier. I come to Manitoba, I say that I've been to Manitoba several years waterfowl hunting until the COVID
Yeah.
incident. And I think that we were considering Manitoba again until the regulations changed again this year.
Well, they haven't changed yet. So that no, it's being proposed, but it hasn't been action yet. So
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't cancel any plans into Manitoba yet. And for a nice little tangent there, and that was, a good friend of ours, Sean Stahl. It was Sean Stahl that brought it to our attention. We weren't even tracking it. And it was Sean Stahl that brought it to our attention. And I know Sean Weaver from Lucky Duck, he had made some posts about it as well. So I think the right people know now, and I think they're starting to challenge these politicians, because I think this was going to be one of those things that it was going to be actioned very quietly, and it was going to happen, and most people wouldn't going to know about it until it was too late. And from the very few, I've talked to less than 5 people that are within the industry in Manitoba, and they all think that it's a bad idea, that it's only going to serve a couple people. It's only going to serve a couple of the outfitters. Well, everybody else is not happy about this. So
I can't see it not causing farmers, small business owners, and all that to suffer. Because I mean, we come in there and we're spending money. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I mean.
Diners,
So it's like the whole spring bear hunt.
Yeah. Well, the hotels, the hotels, the gas stations, the liquor stores, everything. There's, I get it, like in a big city, but there's so many small towns in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, that rely on both Canadian and American hunters to come into that town and start dumping some money. And we all know, and it's been proven time and time again, that we're the best conservationists out there. We spend, especially in the duck hunters, and I'm fairly new to turkey, but duck hunters can spend some serious amount of money when they roll into a place.
Yeah. Anyone that waterfowl hunts, they spend tons of money. You know what I mean? And an outfitter, if you were to go to an outfitter, they pay really good money to go to outfitters. But me and my crew, we would freelance. You know what I mean? And so we're eating at all the shops, the local shops.
That's right.
In our camp area.
Yeah.
We're staying at the hotel. We book our rooms a year in advance. You know what I mean? And we know and we plan around our stay. You know what I mean? We're like, man, we got to have dinner there in that sector. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is that we know a little hot spots in each place. And we'll make sure that we stop there on our day hunting in that region or whatever. So
of course.
Man, so it's really cool to have those opportunities to come across there and experiencing waterfowl, and it's, in my opinion, the purest form that it is. It's waterfowling as it was meant to be, or the days of old. When you come to Canada, man, it's like a real experience of just the vast amount of waterfowl that are there. But especially coming from a Kentucky boy, but man, when there's all the regulations, is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like, man, if you got to jump through all the hoops, is it worth all that?
That's right.
And so that's where our conversations are. We still have the plans set in motion to attend in October.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It just depends on you guys and where y'all want to be.
Philly, are you guys going to Manitoba this fall? Because you guys usually go out every year too, right?
No, we went, the group, they go to Sask.
Oh, they go to, oh, okay. I thought it was
Yeah.
Manitoba, but they go
No,
to
we'll go to
Saskatchewan.
Sask.
Okay.
I won't be going. So last year was my first year. I won't be
Yeah.
going this year, but I will hopefully be going next year.
Mm-hmm.
And what an event that is.
Oh,
And yes, we are financially irresponsible and spending piss ton of money on stuff we don't need.
but that's
hey,
what it's all about too, right?
you're
Like,
fucking
and,
right it is.
you know, like I get it. Like I am the first person that will play devil's advocate, and I know the outfitters are out there, and the outfitters want to make their money and stuff like that. But to quote Sean Stahl, you're trying to make money off of something that's not yours, and you're trying to control something that's not yours. So you can't, as an outfitter, you can't say, well, this is my area, this is my land, and this is my birds. Nobody else is allowed that. You can't do that unless you own the land. Well, then if you own the land, well, then you can dictate what happens to it and stuff. But if you're not, I it's just a slippery slope. And when it comes to government, once the government takes something, they never give it back.
Oh, God, no.
So, right? And it's just a slippery slope that if this is the things that we're gonna allow to start happening, more and more of what we consider our passion, that's gonna get taken away from us by people that probably don't have our best interests, or the species or the town or the small business, do they have their best interests in mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all politics.
It's all
All
politics.
thieving bastards.
All themed. You know, so it was funny today. So again, I seen the video about the kid, and then I read this article, and I'm sorry, Heath, because I didn't get a chance to tell you about it, but I read this article today, and it's coming from Outdoor Magazine, and the guy's name is, I got to read it because I wrote it down, Tim Rooster. So for the past 40 years, this guy has been collecting data on is steel. You know, there's still that argument of people where people say lead is still better, right? So for the past 40 years, he's been researching and collecting data and the whole bit. And some really, really cool things that I thought it was cool. I'm not a ballistics expert by no means. And I got to preface this by saying things like, I really don't pay attention to pellet size. Like, I shouldn't say pellets. You know what I mean? Like when I say, "Oh, I'm going to shoot #2," but I don't care if the weight is 1 1/4 ounces. I don't care about weight of pellets. I don't care about feet per second of pellets. I buy my #2s and my #4s for ducks, and that's it. You know, I don't really pay much attention to it. So he goes on, and I had to write down some of the notes here. Just so 40 years collecting data, and it was a long article, but I picked out some really cool things. 26,000 different birds. So ducks, pheasants, geese, quail, you name it. They turkey. They've been measuring penetration, lethality, and all this stuff. And this was the thing that I thought was pretty cool when I heard it, because I've heard this argument so many times, and this guy's saying that it's been proven, and this is a proper scientific, not funded by anybody else, just him. There is no more wounding with steel shot than there is with lead. And I thought that was, because I've heard that argument. Well, there's more wounded birds. There's more birds getting away that are wounded and goes off and dies, as opposed to when we were shooting them with lead and we were just crippling them, right? So there was that. And then for 100 birds, the wounded percentage was 34% for steel. For tungsten, 27%. And for bismuth, which I think is a crazy number, 42% with bismuth per 100
Wounded.
birds. And I just thought, I'm like, man, that's a crazy high number for bismuth. I've never shot bismuth. Phil, I know you've shot bismuth and you've shot it a lot.
Couple rounds.
I've never shot the stuff, but I'm reading this article on this guy, and out of steel and out of tungsten, bismuth, which is the most expensive out of it all.
No,
No,
tungsten.
tungsten. No, tungsten. Bismuth's more than tungsten.
So bismuth and tungsten are, so tungsten, to your point, Phil, is more expensive, but the price point of bismuth from manufacturers is almost equivalent to tungsten when you're a consumer buying it. So that's been my experience. Like, I can't imagine why it's so high priced, because it's just a little bit better as far as density goes than steel shot. It's not like it's certainly not. Lead is 11.3 grams per cubic centimeter density, right?
Yeah.
And steel shot is 8.4, and then bismuth is like a 9.4.
Oh, really?
Or something like, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the split between lead and steel.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, like, you got TSS at 18.1, which allows us to use a smaller shot size. So a 9-shot TSS is equivalent to a 5 lead, and it's in its weight. So
yeah, its density properties are like astronomical.
yeah,
But
it's
okay,
interesting.
so then his other points were, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this. To me, it really doesn't make a difference because I don't pay any attention to it anyways. But velocity, he's saying that in his study, so they done a study anyway. So increasing velocity does not increase lethality. So they done their study on 1225 to 1600 feet per second. Anything above 1400 feet per second, he's saying, does not increase lethality. In fact, if it's more than 1400 feet per second, the recoil and the density of the pellets coming out greatly affects your chance of killing the bird. Does that make sense to you? Did I say that right?
I don't know if you said it right, according to what he's trying to portray in his writings or not. I haven't read the article.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would be interested in, because I haven't seen it. I'd like to read it and decipher.
I'll send it to you, buddy. I'll send it to you.
To be able to comment on his writing, like, he certainly got his information from somewhere. I don't know if it was his own personal thing. The thing is, like, in tungsten, like, we can't make you a better shot. You know what I mean? But tungsten is absolutely lethal. You know what I mean? And, like, we hear people having the argument that the shot string, from the moment the first BB hits the target to the last, a longer shot string is better versus a shorter.
Yeah.
We've heard that tungsten loads fly a lot faster, and so people have to adjust their lead. But I think that what we're hearing, and I'm the last guy you want to talk to about physics and all the science behind it.
I'm bringing this up because I'm trying to act smart, Heath, and it's probably not working out for me.
Well, you sound way smarter than I do. So, my thing is like what I've experienced, and this is just out of my own experience. Is I'm not necessarily shooting a faster load as much as I am when I shoot an animal. The entire shot hits it at once, right? Like,
right.
I mean, it's almost like bam, like a hammer, and so that's the experience. Like, I'm not adjusting my lead, because I'm spraying him, but I'm like, I'll lead him. I might have to find the right amount of lead, but whenever I hit him, man, I hit him, and you can tell he's been rocked. You know what I mean? It was just, it's a difference. And I don't know if that's always all attributed to the pattern density as much as the size of shot. And we're talking with 9-shot, you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
talking about little bitty pellets. So I would have to say the pattern density plays an effect, and that has to do with all that payload hitting at one time rather than 16-foot shot string. You're getting your tail end of your shot is hitting the bird that you led too far, or
Right.
if you're holding on the bird, the front end of your shot hits them, and then the bird falls out and the rest of it's going past them, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it all depends on the person pulling the trigger. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
their capabilities behind that weapon. I do personally feel that tungsten is the best alloy out there for a shell, a non-toxic alternative. And I put that next to bismuth and any other thing that's out there right now. But it all has to do with density and the amount of shot that is in that shot column. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking an ounce of 9-shot, you're getting 362 BBs per ounce. You know what I mean? And if you increase the shot size with a bismuth or steel, you drastically reduce the amount of shot that you're putting down range. So that's another thing to consider, as you,
I just sent it to you in a message on Facebook, so you can read it. And I didn't really I didn't do I guess it's sort of kind of backfired in my face because I was trying to sound like I knew what the fuck I was talking about. And
I think you did. You sounded great. I was getting scared, and I'm like, man, golly, this is like trivial questions that are coming up, and I'm like,
I may have a little bit of egg on my face there trying to act smarter than I am.
The first thing I knew to do, I'm not going to criticize another man's writing. I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean?
I get you.
He's got his own perspective on that, and that's all well and good because we all have them. But all I can do is talk from my own personal experience. I'm not the guy that does all the pressure testing and
Right.
I'm not the guy that does all that. Jared Lewis is the guy for that. Cameron Reese is the guy for that. You know what I mean? We have companies that we outsource to do all this stuff for, their opinions as well, or their scientific,
They're
scientific,
ballistics guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, we have all the data that we compile, and I've got the product, and I've got a company that does what they say and says what they do. You know what I mean? And all I can say is, like, the product is hands down. I rarely hear anybody that actually use a tungsten product and think, I'm going to go back to using the old stuff again. You know what I mean? Like I just don't get it.
Good point. Yeah. And to that end, I've never heard anybody say, well, I don't think I'm going to shoot this tungsten anymore. I'm gonna go back to steel. To be fair, yeah, I've never heard that either. Heath, like, what's coming down the pipe for Apex? Like, you sort of kind of alluded to it where you said this year you'll be back with a 20 gauge load. Anything new and exciting that maybe not a lot of people know about that Apex is planning on doing this year?
Yeah, man, we're considering doing a 28 gauge like blend, offering that as an option to our waterfowl line. Right now, currently we're doing 12 and 20 and 3-inch. No real need in going a 3.5. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't have any aspirations to do that at this time. The performance that we're getting out of the 3-inch is sufficient. And then our sub gauge offerings, we do have, like, straight TSS waterfowl loads across all bore and gauge sizes. So we have that, but our 28 gauge, we're looking at doing a blended load. Maybe, we're considering it. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know if
that's
I don't know if I should have said, man, I can't talk about this before that. So we'll consider that a slip. We'll
yeah,
consider that a slip.
yeah.
But we're considering that, and then we've got some other waterfowl things that we're working on. That's going to be really exciting, is what I should
Oh,
say. Uh,
cool.
yeah, and we will
You
know more
really
hopefully
shouldn't have
around
said that.
SHOT Show. So we're
Okay.
thinking about some cool things heading down range that far. So um, we are working, man. We are working
Yeah.
and improving and evolving, and yeah, it is exciting, and I hope that that's sufficient enough to answer your
Absolutely, buddy.
question.
No, that's absolutely. I'm really curious now. The last thing you should have told me was that you had some exciting things coming from Waterfowl, because
Yeah.
now that's going to drive me bananas, and I got to wait until SHOT Show before I can start picking your brain about it.
Well, it might
you
not
know,
take that long, but I know that that's like the conversation where we're thinking about. Obviously you got to build your product up
absolutely.
in the here and now, in between now and the release. But once we get satisfied with our thinking, our project,
Yeah.
then we can talk more about it, obviously. But
Yeah. No, absolutely, buddy. No, I appreciate it. And I hope I didn't come across as I was trying to trip you up or anything there when I was talking about that article. I
no,
really didn't have any bad aspirations there. I was just trying to.
yeah. No, I didn't feel that way at all.
Okay,
It's like,
good.
man, as long as you don't ask me the technical data about ballistics and pressure testing and all that. I know the densities. I know,
Yep.
I know roundness. I know all the things. But in buying it, but as far as like all the scientific stuff and why our loads work the way that they do, as far as the powder, the grains of powder that we use, the fillers that we use, man, and Jared Lewis is a great guy for that. Cameron Reese is a great guy for that. Heath Hancock is not. I will buy it. You tell me to buy it, and I'm on it. I'll find it. I will find it. I'll flip over every stone to find everything that we need. But
That's awesome.
don't ask me why, because unless you want a blanket answer, that's all you're going to get from me.
No, that's good, buddy. That's
You're
smart.
great at shopping.
Yeah. I'm good at all that. Yeah.
But I am really excited about the fact that you're doing sub gauges and stuff. And Phil, I know you're probably going to get off this show and start hammering on Carl Jones and making a trip down to Michigan here real soon. So we'll have to talk to Kyle about this too. But the sub gauges, do you find, and I know we're getting close to that hour now, but Heath, are you finding that there's a lot more interest in the sub gauge? Because there's certainly a lot more interest in sub gauges here in Ontario now, but I don't know, is that the same down in the States?
Yeah, man, absolutely. A lot of gun manufacturers are releasing new platforms in the sub gauge, and a lot of them attribute their releasing of that product because of the performance they're getting out of TSS and Apex ammunition. We've had several of the manufacturers approach us and just wanted to tell us that it it was due to some Apex ammunition. That's
something to hang your hat on, eh?
Hey man, we'll take it every chance we get. You know what I mean? Like that's something to be proud of, and so like that's exciting for us. And I mentioned the 28, man. 28 is super effective in the waterfowl world, and most of the guys I mentioned before, a lot of the guys here in the States still think 3.5 is the way to go. Some people still shoot 10 gauges, right? And I'm just like, man, you don't have to anymore. You know what I mean?
No.
It's, you can, but you don't have to.
That's right.
And so it's been super exciting. And Turkey's 410 is one of our most popular loads. And so what that's afforded everyone to do is to take children, elderly folks, people that can't wield the 12 gauges, they're able to go out and enjoy the outdoors, and also to say that they brought granddaddy's old gun out of the closet or out of the gun safe and made it a tool in the woods again. People killing turkeys and ducks with 410s. You wouldn't probably never considered that just 10, 15 years ago.
I'm just thinking, sorry, Phil, I'm just thinking you must, like, it's got to be excited with a 410. Like, you're calling that bird in nice. Like, you're not taking a long poke like these guys that we hear about up here, Phil, that 60 yards, which I still don't believe, but
with a 410?
no, with a 12 gauge at 60 yards, taking heads off birds and stuff.
Well, we certainly hear a lot of things, man, and we're not advocating taking long shots, but what I am telling you is you have a tool that will let you have confidence to capitalize on situations. Like you can have that confidence with the TSS load.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If it meant that you have, and I say this, and honestly, man, I'm not advocating these. I want them close. I'll shoot them at 8 yards if I can, all day long. But if I've got 3 Saturdays and I get out and I've got a turkey hanging up, at 50, 55, something like that, and I would probably consider taking that shot. You know what I mean? And just because I'm confident in the capabilities of my shotgun and the load that I'm putting down range and its effectiveness on that game animal. Man, we hear it all the time, and you wouldn't believe the stories. You know what I mean? Of people taking
I'm sure
long shots and bragging about it. It's each their own, right? But man, I'm like, let's, cool, man, good. Glad you got your bird, but it's not something that we're just proud of. People saying, "Hey, man, we're killing turkeys at 85, 90 yards."
Yeah.
And
like what fun is that?
That was it. I don't get it, man. I don't.
Like people, it's funny when you see these people that go on brag and carrying on. Oh yeah, I'm like raining out birds 50 yards, 60 yards. Well, how about you just become a better hunter and get them at 15 to 20?
That's right.
Like that's where I get my fun from, is like knowing that I sucked you in to the point where I could see the whites of your fucking eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's when the adrenaline gets. That's when you hear, like, when fellas are taking video, or when they're filming hunts and stuff. That's when you hear fellas after the shot when they're out of breath and they haven't moved because the adrenaline was so high of having that bird in so close to them that they're just out of breath because.
I will never forget this. One is still to this day. Aside from shooting that tom, which both my dad and I shot 2 toms together on the same day. Next to that bird, the most exciting bird I ever shot was a jake at 20 yards with a crossbow.
Wow.
And like you wanna talk about like heart out to here and like just giddy as a schoolgirl. Holy shit. Yeah. Still to the day, like one of my top birds.
That's cool. With a crossbow.
Yeah. And totally incidental. Like I went crossbow hunting. I actually went out like 7:30 in the morning. I already bagged the tom. So I was going out to punch my second tag. And so I left home late. I'm like, I'm not getting up at 4. Screw this. So I get down to my spot 7:30. I come down through this creek bottom up into it was what would have been like a cut and tilled cornfield from the year before. Crossbow's not loaded, no mask on, no gloves on. And as soon as I come up out of the shadows up this little hill, I look out and there's 2 jakes at 60 yards. And I'm like, oh, that'll do. So like I literally take a half step back into the shadows. I'm trying to load the crossbow. And doesn't my elbow tap my box call on my vest and make like the perfect little like yelp or cluck? Well, these 2 idiots right there feeding, they hear that. So my head snaps up. Their heads snap up. They're like, oh, we're getting lucky. And yeah, like full tilt booked it straight at me. I literally had seconds where I got the bolt on the rail, crossbow up, put the crosshairs on him, like, right through the body, and yeah, 20 yards, fucking center punched him, and like it all went down so fast, and he was like right there, right in front of me, and holy god, like, oh yeah, it was just total
Oh yeah.
buck fever and shakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I love that feeling. I love you telling that story. And, I relate. I know my dancing and hooting and hollering, as my daughter would say. Man, that's the same feeling. I just didn't pull the trigger myself. You know what I mean? Like, we got them right in our lap, and yeah, man, I love that. With a crossbow, I don't hear many people killing turkeys with crossbows. Is that what
We
is
got,
there?
we got a lot of people up here. I shouldn't say a lot, but it's not uncommon to have fellas shooting bow and crossbow.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
I've seen,
uncommon at all.
I didn't realize if there was here, I didn't realize there was a turkey season with crossbows, unless it was in the fall. But that's Kentucky. I didn't know that we had one. I haven't
Right.
really sought it out, to be honest with you. But I used to hunt turkeys with the bow all the time. But I never considered taking a crossbow as being an option. So I didn't know if that was still regulated the same way as modern compound bow. I guess it is, but I didn't know if that was a special season or not.
Like,
I think it's the same.
Super, yeah. Everything, it's all the same here.
Yeah, I think it's the
not.
same.
It's not super popular by any means, but there is like a handful of people that'll shoot turkeys with a compound. We're like, my father-in-law, he gets his 2 spring birds and his fall bird every year, and uses his compound.
Cool.
Nice.
Mind you, he's also walking 200 yards out his back door to go sit in his ground blind.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
If you think I'm jealous, you're right. My
I'm an
dad used to.
opportunist.
Yeah, my dad used to say that all the time. If you think I'm jealous, you're right, fellas. We're at that. We're just over the 1 hour mark, and I think we've rambled on long enough. But Heath, I'd love to extend the invitation for you to come back on anytime, buddy. And I mean that with the most sincerity, for you to come back on, and even still, don't wait for us to send you an invite. If there's something that you'd like to come on the show and talk about, just fire me an invite or fire me a message, and we'll get you in, buddy. We'd love to have you back on again, and love talking everything Apex Ammo with you.
Well, man, I certainly appreciate you guys having me. It's good to meet you, Phil. I've talked to Damien a few times already, and I look forward to talking many more.
Yeah, buddy.
As now I've seen your face.
Yeah,
we're friends, man, and Phil, we're friends as well. So anytime
Appreciate
you
it,
guys
buddy.
need anything from Apex, let us know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Phil, last words, any final words to you, buddy?
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, Heath. So like, we know Apex is a newer company to the game, and yeah, definitely you guys have made your presence known on social media, and you've definitely come up with a variety of cool and interesting loads, some different things, and obviously be pushing that TSS stuff, and wish you guys all the best in the future.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Any last words for you, Heath?
No, man. Hopefully I'll be visiting Canada here this fall. I appreciate you guys helping me with that information, because I wasn't sure where Canada was at. I thought it had already passed, so I'm still hopeful now.
Yeah, buddy.
But man, as soon as we bring ammunition into Canada, you'll be my first call to give you the heads up.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, buddy, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your patience with me too, Heath, because I know I bug you, and I know you've got a ton of stuff on the go with a million people sending you messages all the time, and you always write me back. You always write me back regardless. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and how yeah, as a small time brand like we are. And then when I reach out to companies like you guys, and ask you to come on this crazy show that we've got, this silly idea that we had, and you guys agreed to it, and you always answer me back, buddy. I can't say enough good things about you, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you 100%, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode 140 of Union 0430. Like we say, surround yourself with good people. Big love. Until next time.